Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine number 10, cover dated August 1989. The cover is by Bill Sienkiewicz. There's a signature there. And this is a really brutal cover. I was looking at this one in advance of making the video, and I kind of feel this is one of the most violent covers there's been of the Wolverine comic, or comics in general, because just look at it. Just look at the sheer brutality of what Sabretooth is doing to Wolverine. Look at his struggle on the ground, the popped eye, the gritted teeth, and then this tree branch here that he's going to bring crashing down on his face, even as he's got him by the throat. And even in the colours of this cover, the white of the background, the winter background, brings the eye to focus on the central figures. And as Wolverine grapples against Sabretooth, who is endeavouring to murder him, you can see that the colorist, whoever that is, has implied bruising on Wolverine's body there, on his shoulder, on his arm, and indeed some bruising there on Sabretooth's arm as well. I think it's really well done. I know that not everyone is a favourite, for everyone, Bill Sienkiewicz is not a favourite artist, but I like his work, and I think that this is one of his very best covers. And of course it's got the caption there, there's a killer loose in the forest, and Sabretooth is his name. Indeed. So let's open this one up to the splash page, and there are 23 pages of story and art in this classic issue of Wolverine. The title of the story is 24 Hours. We'll discover soon enough what 24 hours it is in the year for Wolverine in particular. And the story begins now in Madripoor, Lowtown. Some places, like some people, are made for a brawl. So we're into Logan's first person narration, and let's continue. Comes naturally like breathing, never a rhyme or reason. Something in the air puts a body on edge, primes him with a hair trigger. So the slightest sparks, all that's needed to start the scrap. Don't know what set off these two bruisers, don't much care, not tonight. So who could be scripting that first person monologue for Wolverine? Well, it's none other than Chris Claremont, writer. So the rest of the creative team: John Buscema, the legend, the Michelangelo of comics, co-credited with Bill Sienkiewicz as the artists of this issue. So my guess is that Buscema is doing breakdowns and Sienkiewicz finishes over Buscema's breakdowns. And then the rest of the creative team: Ken Brujanak on the letters. These are hand lettered pages. Now I feel that Brujanak's letters are not as good as someone like Tom Orzechowski. There's something about the lettering in this issue that makes me think it was done at speed. Also, the lettering is printing like it's in bold, which makes it at times a little difficult to read. And rounding out the creative team, Mike Rockwitz on colours. And I feel that Rockwitz might have been up against a deadline, because I don't think the colours are really one of the strengths of this particular comic. And it makes me wish that Glynis Oliver had been the colorist on this story, because this will turn out to be one of the classic encounters between Wolverine and Sabretooth. And it would have been nice to have had the usual crew, Claremont's finest collaborators on letters and colouring, Tom Orzechowski and Glynis Oliver, rounding out the creative team here. So the splash page, it's a bar somewhere in Madripoor. The fight between these two randomers continues, as does Logan's first person narration. Not my usual stomping ground, pretty down market even for Madripoor Lowtown, but tonight I'm steering clear of people I know, places I care for. Only hide I want to put at risk is my own. Funny how, when my world twists nasty, first place I think to go is a saloon. Always felt comfortable in one, celebrated the best and worst of times. And now we flash back to then. So we don't get an exact time location for then, but does it look like it's late 19th century or early 20th century? That's where this started. So in a saloon, quality place, made more so by memory, for all of it's being dumped in the middle of flaming frontier nowhere. and in their own rough-hewn way, quality folk, most of them anyway. So here we see the patrons of the saloon shocked. One of them cries out, "Glory!" Now that's a Claremontian exclamation that characters make, and just today in advance of making this video I thought, glory what? Is it glory be to God that is being abbreviated in the exclamation? That's my guess anyway. And then we have Logan, and he has Silver Fox dead in his arms. So a standing pieta there for Silver Fox. She's Logan's love, and she's dead, and you can see the expression of the grief on his face. That's really well done by Buscema and Sienkiewicz. And there, very unmoved at the bar, at the counter, is Sabretooth. "Happens, boy," he says, "especially to squaws, uppity enough to say no." So the implication is that Sabretooth wanted to have his way with Silver Fox, and she refused him, and so he's perhaps gone through with that and killed her on top of it. So Logan calls out, "Sabretooth, you killed her." Everybody here getting worried in the saloon, getting up. Logan there coming towards Sabretooth. "What's this slice of cake on the counter? What of it?" he says. "Should warn you though, boy. These others cross him, and you trade punches till somebody drops, and there's usually the end of it. To me, that ain't fighting, that's play. I don't play." Even as he takes some frosting and tastes it there on his tongue, with just a really evil look on his face. So the one woman there tries to get in the way and says he isn't fooling. For pity's sake, Logan, she's just an Indian. So you've got an implication of the time period and how the life of an Indian wasn't regarded as of equal value to the lives of the Anglos in the saloon. Now, but we flash forward to the present in Madripoor and the bar brawl. Should have expected this sooner or later. Bad joss for the bruisers. I'm in a mood. So they've knocked over his table and his beer. So that's not going to go well. So he picks up one of them by the back of his shirt, fights Dunbub, call it quits. And he throws the guy all the way down the counter there, grabs the other guy. But then the clock chimes midnight. Personal clock's running. So why is his personal clock running at midnight? Well, we'll discover towards the end of the story. So he decides to head off. You buffoons aren't worth the effort. And back in his first person narration, we learn pretty impressed actually about the place. Booze they serve, would have figured it kinder to the insides to guzzle straight sulfuric acid, probably tastes better. At least my mutant healing factor repairs any damage to my body. What's their excuse about the patrons of that bar? Really like how grimy the street looks here in Buscema and Sienkiewicz's art. It's really well done. Another great page in terms of establishing the griminess of Lowtown Madripoor. Madripoor's a big city, says Wolverine in his first person narration. Population in 7 figures easy. It's high town as 21st century, cosmopolitan as Lowtown is medieval, and yet in its way as fierce and untamed a jungle as the real natural one that covers most of this island, my turf. So he's up on the roof. Roofs are better than the street, he says. Easier to see any opposition coming, more places to scoot if needful. And so who's he avoiding and who is he expecting within this 24-hour period? But he starts to muse on his past. Did I love Silver Fox? Thought so. At the time, not so certain anymore. It was too long ago. That's really interesting. Did it matter in the end? Probably not. So that's intriguing from Wolverine to think back about Silver Fox, given the way that he's written later on by Larry Hama in relation to Silver Fox. This is a more mature version of Wolverine here. and wondering about his past and youth as it was. And then here in the gutter we have more text. Sabre and me, we'd been spoiling for a fight. He'd always helped himself to whatever was mine, challenging me to stop him. Something always held me back. Knew he hated me, hadn't a clue why. Maybe it was simply what he said, that the whole world wasn't big enough for the pair of us. So in this time period, 1989, Chris Claremont is the creator who's in charge of giving readers little clues about Wolverine or Logan's mysterious past. And this is all news in 1989. The fact that there is this beef between Logan and Sabretooth going back decades, maybe even 100 years. Then I was covered with Fox's blood. Sabre stunk of it. She died hard and he'd enjoyed every minute. So again, just this implication of the brutality of what Sabretooth did to Silver Fox. I meant to pay him back in kind. And you can see how wild and feral Logan looks in the drawing. His popped eyes there as well. His face, you can imagine, he's snarling even as he goes for Sabretooth's throat. But Sabretooth is a big man. He's 6'4". Logan's only 5'3". How is he going to get the best of Sabretooth, particularly at a time before he had his unbreakable adamantium reinforced bones? So this is the past. He doesn't have them. Neither does he have claws. I was as close to human as I ever came, but I was tough, he says, as well as too flaming dumb to realize how much trouble I was in. Made Sabretooth's day to teach me. So you can see Sabretooth just simply clawing him across the chest and opening him up. And there he is in the present, remembering, holding his chest at the memory of that wound. Memory hurts more than the original wounds. Night's quiet, as though the whole city's holding its breath. We're all of us waiting. This is the part I hate. Too much imagination, too much experience, and now the complication, a scream. So, is this Sabretooth out there killing someone? Is that what's happening in the present? Well, it turns out to be a Madripoor gang that's attacked a sailor and his girlfriend, and the sailor's been stabbed in the chest. Man's down, thinks Wolverine, but he gave a fair account of himself before he got knifed. I pick up where he left off. Really like this panel, like the way he's dropped down from the rooftop onto the ground, like the way that the drapery is drawn, indicating the drop to the ground as well. Really good stuff from Buscema. And Logan warns them, these are guests in our town, he says. As such, they should be treated with courtesy and respect. So these thugs aren't listening. One of them shoots Wolverine 4 times in the chest. Of course, that's not going to stop him. And he simply grabs the man's wrist and he says, he isn't worth using my claws. One good punch is all it takes. His pal doesn't take the hint. So Logan's wise to him, sneaking up behind with the knife, and then they run off. This is a really great panel here. Look at the inking. It's wild stuff from Sienkiewicz, but it's really effective, almost expressionistic of the fear of these guys running away and the deadliness of Wolverine there in silhouette. So Wolverine tends to the knifed man. There's no hospital in Lowtown, won't get an ambulance down these parts either, he says to the woman, but I know a place that's almost as good. Stay close, stay wary, let's go. So Wolverine acting as a good Samaritan here, leaving his hat on the ground too. And then we flash back. Then, after wrecking most of the saloon, we took our fight outside. So they smashed through the window there. Fair day for high country weather. Plenty cold, but my blood was blazing so hot I didn't notice. I'd never met my match till that day. Whole side seemed to cave in, as this is our scene from the cover. We've got Sabretooth there. Look how crazy he looks, grabbing one of these planks from the saloon and whacking Logan in the side with it. Whole side seemed to cave in. And when the impact slammed me into the wood pile, oh, that's where he's grabbed it. He's grabbed the branch from the wood pile, slammed me into the wood pile. So did it. Timber came in all sizes, logs to full width, unsplit trunks, piled high as a house, made a pretty impressive mess. And there's Sabretooth with that log in his hand, that branch in his hand. And then we're back in the present. So interesting storytelling strategy here, where we have our story now and then we flash back to then. And there's an interesting and unexpected appearance here in this little scene. So Madame Joy's, that brothel was established in the Save the Tiger story arc in Marvel Comics Presents. So here is Logan kicking in the door with the injured sailor, and here is the Madame Joy in question. Trust you, old friend, she says to him. Everybody's old friend when Claremont is writing these kinds of stories, to drop it on my doorstep with this trouble. I really like the hatching here of Logan in the foreground. Looks like he did pick up his hat before he left for Madame Joy's. And Logan explains the guy took one blade to the hilt. No time to get him to Hightown or his ship. So the Madame takes over. You did right then, Patch, bringing him here. And so she says to one of the girls, Inga, summon Dr. Fong. Get Mavis. Ready the dispensary. Snap to, ladies. We've a life to save. So these are whores with a heart of gold. And Logan lays down the injured man. Hold on, sailor, he says to him. You're in good hands, as he puts him on the sofa. And the guy says, this is kind of humorous, if I gotta go, man, heck of a place to go from. Ain't that the truth, says Logan. And the Madame says to the guy's girl, as for you, young lass, let's get you out of these bloody clothes and into a hot tub. And the girl wants to help. You'll just be in the way, she says. Inga, look after her, will you? There's a dear. So, like I said, you know, is it probable or improbable that there would be these good-hearted prostitutes operating in Lowtown? Well, they are, and Madame Joy is now a friend and helper to Logan, even if it's somewhat incredible. But here's the big surprise. Never a dull moment, Patch, says someone, emerging from behind this curtain where you're concerned. Must have a knack, he replies. Same as you, Drew. It's Jessica Drew. So what's she doing in Madripoor rather than San Francisco? Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman. So the Madame says, it'll be if you don't let me do some proper work, Scoot, the pair of you, I'll call when there's news. And outside they go into a courtyard with a fountain. That's a really nice panel as well by Buscema and Sienkiewicz. And Jessica Drew says, is she saying it? I think she's being sincere. Lovely lady. Those sailors are in the best of hands. And Logan replies laconically, yup. Lovely place as well, she says. Hardly what you'd expect, especially in Lowtown. Indeed. That's Madripoor for you, Logan says to Jessica, where nothing's what it seems. That's your partner waving up there? You want a case? Hardly. We live here. So that's the big surprise. You know, Claremont always has to have strong female supporting characters in his comics if they have a male lead like Wolverine. And he must have been casting around for someone interesting that wasn't being used by any other writer, and decided to bring Jessica Drew to Madripoor. It's intriguing. So anyway, Jessica asks him, care to see our place? So they scale the walls there. Easy for her to say about going up the wall. Jessica Drew's superpowers enable her to stick to walls. Okay, well, we can see that. And then they climb up onto the balcony. And yeah, so up on top of the balcony, Jessica says, there aren't many people in the world who'd be a match for me, Patch. So how does she know to call him Patch rather than Logan? She knows him as Wolverine. And of course, at this point in time, the X-Men are believed dead because of the events in Dallas, Texas, Uncanny X-Men 227, and Roma's spell as well. So how does Jessica know to call him Patch? Is it because she's done her homework before coming to Madripoor, knows that Logan is there, knows that he's going by the nom de guerre Patch? Could that be it? But anyway, Logan has a flashback just at this moment. Flaming memories, always flashing back strongest when you need him least. So we're back with the fight between him and Sabretooth. Logan's burrowed his way out of the woodpile, and Sabretooth here says, even without your blood trail, boy, there's nowhere you can hide from me. Now this is intriguing because this is Logan remembering this. But how can he remember this since he wasn't there and was out in the forest in the snow? So I think we're getting the objective third-person perspective on what happened, whatever way Logan is remembering things himself. But anyway, he ran, he remembers. No rhyme, no reason, no sense, till I dropped, and there I knew I'd die. Simplest binary equation. I was beat and beaten, so why prolong the agony? I'd never known fear before, now I knew nothing but. So he's really struggling. Surprised myself though, pushed off my face, all the way to my feet, couldn't quit, wouldn't. Maybe I was beaten, probably going to die, but I wasn't about to quit. And that's the Logan that we know. So here he is scaling this mountain in the high country, but we're back in the present. And we learn Jessica Drew's partner's name, Lindsay, and the surname, McCabe. So Jessica Drew and Lindsay McCabe, and the name of their private detective agency in Madripoor is Resolutions. Interesting. So anyway, we get a look at their apartment and then into the office there. That's really good work by Buscema, of course. There's some banter between Logan and Jessica Drew. Let's see. Here, Logan says to them, be amazed what a body can hear and learn in a joint like this. Also, joys in the prince's house run under his imprimatur. Probably Baron's way of saying, so are you. Oh, the fact that they have their office adjacent to the bawdy house. But that's interesting too. Why is it such a decent establishment? Because it has the imprimatur of the Prince of Madripoor, because Madripoor is an island principality. Really like this page. I like Buscema's work on the apartment, the decor of the apartment. It's good stuff. And now we get some insight into kind of like the politics of Madripoor. Baron needs eyes and ears in Lowtown. Evidently you're it, he says to the pair. And Jessica responds, why do I feel like a nut clamped tight between the jaws of a nutcracker? And Logan replies, look, one side you got Coy, General Coy. Opposing him, Tiger. Rival crime lords, roughly equal forces balancing each other, but always hustling for the edge that'll enable them to grab total control. Prince has to know the game and score, who to move against when necessary, and how hard. Used to be the role as Chancellor played. So Jessica says, too bad the Prince allowed General Coy to murder him. Ranja Marvin broke the rules, sided with Tiger, replies Logan. In Baran's eyes, that was treason. He wants somebody neutral whose loyalty is to him. In that case, Jessica says, he made a big mistake choosing us. You want out, darling, say the word, says Logan. But if you stay, it's on Madripoor rules, which means no rules. So out he goes. Jessica is wondering and asks after him even as he leaves, what about you if something's wrong? But he says, obliged. But like I said, private business be seeing you ladies. And then another flashback. Really like the layout on this page. 6 tall panels, kind of, or it is fitting, as Logan's scaling this rock face here. and he's pushing himself. He used to do this for fun. Also, we learned that he used to do a spot of mountaineering just for the fun of it. No man nor beast was my equal, so I set myself against nature, always pushing limits because it never entered my fool head that I had any. Live and learn. So he makes it to the top, and who's there at the top except for Sabretooth? So this really is Logan up against his limits and up against his superior foe. And Sabretooth mocks him, sound like a dog boy. You want to die like one on your belly, even as he's panting there from the effort of scaling the rock face, or on your feet like a man. Let's turn the page. This is very good stuff. Then we're back in Madripoor in the present, and we have a little interview here between Logan and the police chief. And the police chief, or Logan says here that he's looking up an old pal. So, and he's enjoying the chief's seat there. By all means, then indulge. Consider it my thanks for your timely intervention with the American sailors. Regrettably, however, those bravos you trounced are in less charitable frame of mind. You've been stirring up a veritable hornet's nest in Lowtown, Patch. Is this to be a regular occurrence? And Logan, in his laconic way, says, hadn't given it a thought. But the police chief says, perhaps you should. You're dealing with some very ugly customers. Regarding this other matter, my best determination, both through official channels and the Old Boy Network, is that the man you asked about is dead. So Logan replies, thanks Ty, I'm obliged. Doesn't mean much. As Wolverine, I'm supposed to be dead too, but it didn't hurt to check. So this is really intriguing. Who is it that he was looking up and had Ty check out for him? And Ty then says with a smile on his face, my pleasure, by the way, Patch, happy birthday. So the 24 hours is Logan's birthday. As chief of police, my friend, it's my job to know. Take care, he says, as Logan goes out into the night, and we flash back to the mountaintop. Then my birthday. So everything is coming together. The 24 hours in the present of his birthday. We're seeing in his memories and in the flashback a birthday from maybe 100 years earlier. Fox and I, we'd planned to celebrate together. Sabretooth had other ideas. Learned a lot that night about fear and the berserker in my soul. My whole being went red with rage. Only thing that mattered was killing Sabretooth any way I could, as if I had a prayer of succeeding. And I like the coincidence of Sabretooth grabbing his fist, even as it seemed Logan was doing well against the bigger opposition, opponent, as if I had a prayer of succeeding. His fist is grabbed. Sabretooth again strikes at him with those claws. Fast as I was, he was faster. Hard as I hit, he hit harder. So this is looking bad for Logan. Too stubborn, too stupid, kept coming. That made him laugh. I learned fear and rage. Now finally, at the hands of the consummate master, I learned what it truly meant to be hurt. So he's down on the ground. Now, in Madripoor, slow measured pace, easy stride, natural athlete, sneaks, making hardly any sound at all on the dock. Heard him fine ages ago when they started following me. So Jessica Drew, he grabs her into a side building, a warehouse. Explain, Drew, he says to her. I'm worried about you, Patch. Everybody's worried. Tearing through Lowtown like a one-man typhoon. Your friends decided to blazes with your feelings. We'd best keep tabs on you. And if you've a problem with that, chum, tough. So Logan responds humorously, yes, ma'am. You won't have to worry much longer, though. Midnight, you mean? Patch, has it something to do with this being your birthday? So that's what we, the readers, are asking. Great panel, by the way. Everything in silhouette. Suggestion of some fog down there at the docks. Flaming blabbermouth, busybody Ty, I swear. And what are these headlights coming out of the darkness? Well, it's a couple of those bravos that Wolverine messed with earlier. Two bruisers from the bar looking... Sorry, it's the guys from the bar, actually. Two bruisers from the bar looking to even our score. Ty was right, guys. Bear a serious grudge. Jess goes high. Leap takes her to the warehouse roof. Don't have her legs, I go low. So he's dodging those bullets. And one of the guys, he's come loaded for bear. Thinks Wolverine to himself, trade in their submarine machine gun for a grenade launcher. So much for the warehouse. So the warehouse is exploded. Even nastier treats in store for me. A flamethrower. Fire pins me down, but I've got good cover. Forgot about the grenades. So, and then he's shot with, what is this? Like a grenade catching him. And then he falls burning into the harbour. Teach him to mess with us. So they've teamed up, absolutely. Crying shame though. It was over so quick. Pop another brewski, bro. Then we'll wheel home to start some righteous celebrating. But who is this figure in silhouette behind them? In the mist, down at the docks. Who could it be? So then we're back in the past. Superb boy, utterly magnificent. Didn't think you had it in you, but you were warned. So Sabretooth is there holding up Logan's head. Time to teach the final lesson and tear out your throat. Same as I did your sweethearts. Hope your blood tastes as sweet. So he's going to rip his throat out with his teeth. This is really wild stuff. Truly bestial. So Logan exclaims, no, no, no. And tumbles the two of them off the top of the mountain. So that's got to be both of them dead. That's a really great sequence. He's taken the two of them out. Now, Jessica pulls Logan from the water. There you are. Hurt it all, Patch? Been worse, he says. Thanks for acing the brothers, Drew. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. I just dug myself out of the warehouse. I thought you nailed them. So he says to her, no. Nope. Love the hatching here. It's really well done by Sienkiewicz. She says here, someone must have. There isn't a sign of them or their Cadillac, and I doubt they'd quit on their own. So Logan says, guess we owe somebody a favour then. Wonder who? Wonder more why. So he knows who it is. Then in the past, so they landed how many 100 feet down on the ground? And Sabretooth landed on top of Logan. Very good boy as he comes to. Figured to take me out with you, eh? Nice try, but you missed. Shame it had to end like this. And here's the big tease from Claremont's script. But then, given who we are, what other ending could there be? So, what is their relationship to each other? Claremont had always been building to reveal that Sabretooth was Logan's father. And what we have is a kind of a reverse Oedipal complex where the father is out to kill the son, much more like Saturn, actually, from Greek mythology, who ate his children because he didn't want any of them to supplant him. Yeah, that's kind of more like what it's like. And then in the present, last page, page 23, the Princess Bar. The joke, though, was on him because I survived too. So Logan remembering, he did survive. He had the healing factor, of course. Princess Bar is my place. Daryl's caddy parked out front. Saloon's closed for the night. Place should be empty. Staff all gone home. I go in hard. So he goes in through the window, claws out. I needn't have bothered. Dead and cold, the both of them. Wasn't a gentle passing either. Wounds look painfully familiar. There's a birthday card to go with their ribbons. Signature in blood. Matches the slashes on their bodies and on mine. And this is the message. Nobody kills you but me. Especially today. So, Sabretooth has dibs on killing Logan. And is determined to do it on Logan's birthday. Not Bub, if I get you first. That's a really great ending as well. Just look at all the ink splash there in Sienkiewicz's finishes over probably what are Buscema's breakdowns. Yeah, that's great. Nobody kills you but me, especially today. Not Bub, if I get you first. So a real hatred between these two. But why What is their relationship? What other ending, but given who we are, what other ending could there be? And why the birthday? Yeah. Excellent, excellent story. No letters page. Oh, and there is an illustration on the back by see, look at this signature. You can't read that. 1989 I can read. It is, isn't it Kent Williams? It's not Kevin Williams, it's Kent Williams. So like really wild pose there on Logan, very abstract, twisted torso and body, but I think it looks good. The coloring is very good too. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on this classic issue of Wolverine solo title, issue number 10 by, wow, what a great team. Chris Claremont, John Buscema and Bill Sienkiewicz. Pity about the lettering, pity about the colouring. Would have preferred Orzechowski and Glynis Oliver, but you can't have everything. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.